はい、皆さん、こんにちは。香川博です。本を書くときは山伏洋二という名前でやってますので、よろしくお願いします。出版社経営しているのでね、どうしてもペンネームが必要なんですよね。で、その中で、今回ね、アメリカで、ある人物にずっとインタビューをしました。相手の名前はスコット・ハースさんですが、実はこれは2回目になります。今回のやつは2回目。1回目からずっと通してですね、実は1時間にわたるインタビューなんです。アメリカの社会を知るためのね、インタビューなんですけど、この2回目、ぜひですね、1回目を見てください。そうするともっとわかりやすいと思います。1回目はね、彼の自己紹介のような導入部分、これを踏まえた上で、じゃあ彼の住んでるアメリカ、彼の見てるアメリカって一体何なんだろうということについてですね、語ってもらっています。そしてだんだんとですね、今の複雑な状況、特にこのアメリカの社会の複雑な状況ですよね。大統領選挙もね、なんか2つに分断されてますよね。そして人もなかなか和解できない。そういう非常に込み入ったね、アメリカの社会の事情が何なんだろうと。一筋縄ではいかないなと。例えばね、シティで、かつですね、お金を持ってる。そういうトランプさんがなんでね、どちらかというと、経済的にも苦しいかもしれない、ミッドウェスト、中西部のね、人たちの支持を受けてるんだろうとか。そういうことについて、一見わからないことを掘り下げてみたいということが2回目の試みです。これも15分間です。ですから1回目の15分と合わせて、これで30分になりますよね。ぜひ、見ながら、これを見ながらね、アメリカ社会の難しい背景ということを考えてみていただければなと思います。
Same kind of dimension I can see, which is like a Trump vice versa farmer, which is, I don't know, Trump is intellectual. I don't think so personally.
No, not at all.
But he's wealthy guy, and also surrounding of him is of course somehow educated. Then they make a group and inspire lot of so-called uneducated, economically challenging people.
Right.
And this is today's themes are like why they became such kind of fanatic, how can I say, fan of Trump, because he's a rich guy and also city guy. He's a city guy, basically. New York,
Absolutely.
right? And also, of course, he said that he want to inspire. That is why he said a Christian, something like that. But he's not a Christian, actually.
No, I agree with you.
Right? His background is Presbyterians. I know that. But he's not
religious,
talking about Bible oriented. But
no, he's not. He's not spiritual and he's not religious. No.
then
No, not at all.
Such a guy can inspire of Midwest farmers. That is an issue which I want to sort of discuss.
But you wrote about this on your Facebook post, and I thought it made sense, which is that it's a really confusing time we're living in, you know, and people would like he gives people clear answers they can understand. So he says, the reason why your prices are high in the grocery store, it's because of Joe Biden. Or it's just not possible. So it's the reason why the cities are not safe, it's because of illegal immigrants. Also not true. The reason why people are unhappy is because the United States is not tough enough. Also not true. I mean, none of these things are true, but he says them with such conviction. And he's also very entertaining. He's really entertaining.
I see.
I mean, there was a French philosopher, I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book called The Art of the Spectacle. And he wrote it in the 1970s. He was a Marxist philosopher. And he said, he was very prophetic. And he said here, almost 50 years ago, he said, the future of politics is spectacle. It's not about ideas. It's not about plans. It's about entertainment. It's about creating a spectacle. And Joe Biden is not that interesting, which I love about him. he's kind of a boring guy, which I like. I like that.
But look, going back to the era of, Jimmy Carter, vice versa, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan at that time was actually populist, and so he wanted to say, he said many times like a strong America. America must be the greatest country, like that. It's quite easy to listen to. And comparing with him, Jimmy Carter is just like a Joe Biden, kind of mumbling in his mouth with a lot of concept. But actually, this is really tough for, how can I say, voters to understand. And, but even though at that time, Reagan's kind of so-called propaganda can be, how can I say, backed up of some kind of knowledge of a grand old parties kind of traditions, which is, I cannot deny everything about it because, sometimes grand old party did great things too. But now seems like a situation is really changing. This is one crazy guy.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure the grand old party did anything good. I really don't. No, but I really don't.
Go ahead,
I mean, I would need to know what they did that was so good, because
I see.
They fought the Civil Rights Act. They did nothing to improve the civil rights of African Americans. They did nothing to improve the rights of women. They didn't create economic opportunities for people who were really smart and who could work hard. They didn't lower the price of universities. I mean, they didn't do the things. I mean, this country, as you know, the United States is so rich. It's so rich. And when I think about the money in this country, that it's not shared more equitably. It's shocking. And then the other thing is 52% of every dollar that an American pays in taxes goes to the military. 52%. I mean, if they lowered it just by 5%, I think that they should lower it by 47%. But let's say they lowered it to 5%. Imagine how much the infrastructure in this country is a disaster. There's very little public transportation. And these, by the way, these are not liberal ideas.
I understand. Of course.
This is common sense.
I agree with you. Only one point I wanted to mention is there was something like a philosophy, so-called, even it is propaganda. I'm not talking about good or bad, even if it is propaganda. There are some kind of American philosophy who back up the people of the United States to be proud of. That is a kind of a things which, as a foreigner, for me, sometimes I can listen to, and I could listen to. But on the other hand, these days, what Trump's saying is not related to even something like that. This is totally.
That's right. No, you're right. I see your point.
That's I want
yes,
to
Yeah, no, I see your point. It's not connected to the old Republican Party.
Exactly.
So my wife and I talk about this all the time. So my wife's father was a Republican. He was a good person. And we would have discussions about Nixon and about Reagan. We didn't agree, but it was a respectful conversation. He would say, Reagan is good for business. Well, why is that? He creates incentives for businesses to open more. He lowers the taxes so that if they hire more people, the more people they hire, the lower the taxes. And lots of conversations like that. I didn't agree with him, but he had good points. He had good points. And it was friendly. It was an interesting conversation. That's not what it's like anymore.
That's right, because only hatred and also bashing each other, particularly even this kind of a strange, very strange trial happened in New York City. Former president paid the money to the prostitute. And this simple story is quite weird. And then that weird story, he want to wipe it up. That is why use the money as a hush money, so-called. Then people are talking with a serious face, which is right or wrong. And even such a vulgar story is revealed. And then after bargainings and everything, and the jury said, no, Viaduct he's guilty. Then after that, I stood at the court. And then,
it's wonderful that you were there, really.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I could not see so many Democrat people, liberal people, because everywhere is filled with a lot of so-called Trump fanatic supporters. It was even dangerous from my point of view. But But fortunately, I could place an interview of several people. And as you see, that's one guy who is a man and with a red hat. That guy is a typical Trump supporter from my point of view. And he said that, oh, I like him because he's Christian. And in my mind, I thought that it is not true. But anyway, and then his way of watching me is like some kind of, oh, this weird guy is again that's attacking me. I could feel that. That's all right. But
Sure, of course.
I was so astonished because when next person who is Asian,
I saw that photograph. Yeah,
right?
a woman, right? Yeah.
Woman. And she is also quite fanatic because when Donald Trump's car is in front of her, of course he don't want to talk to me because he want to say flag and Trump, and like that. And what makes her something like that? She's Asians and immigrants, but she's citizen right now, she said. But apparently she's immigrant. And also his statement is quite weird because as you mentioned that, a lot of bad people is coming into the United States from the boundary of the South. And also only Trump time, we have a peace. Well,
right. Well, we'll see, but let me ask you a question. Did you interview this person?
Yeah, I did it.
What did she say?
She said is really because I support Trump again, that's, because Trump is stopping any illegal immigrant. Second,
Okay.
Trump
All right.
maintain the peace of the world. That is why.
Okay. Well, it's interesting about the issue of immigrants because a friend of mine who's a very wealthy private equity guy, he said, he's a Biden supporter. He said the people with real money, they don't have a problem with the immigration because he said the people who are the immigrants, they're doing a lot of the work. They're taking care of the landscaping, the lawns.
Of course.
They're taking care of the painting, the cleaning of the houses. They're doing the work that many Americans don't want to do. And so it's the people who seem to dislike the immigrants a lot are the people who feel like their prerogatives, their privileges of their class are threatened. But the people who have any kind of job security or who have a decent amount of money, they don't seem to be upset about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's also city country. It's also city country.
Well,
so,
but I'm now staying in Savannah, right, Georgia. Of course, Georgia and Savannah is not a big city. This is a kind of a local city, and also as you know that Georgia is swinging state like a blue or red sometimes, but basically blue right now. But right here, hotel is maintained by a lot of immigrants. I saw it.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Cleaning the rooms and also, giving a service of the bed making and everything.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I walk to there's a church near me where I work 2 mornings a week to see clinical cases, 2 mornings. And just this morning and then yesterday, as I'm walking to the church, I passed by 3 people I'm sure were from Central America, a man from India, a woman from India, a person who appeared to be from Haiti. I saw a person who was probably Chinese. I mean, I didn't see a white North American. And I thought, how wonderful, how interesting. But I think a lot of it has to do with city country because every day I see people who are immigrants every day.
Oh, that is why I feel really comfortable to be here.
Right. It's a nice mix.
And if it is mixed, people feel comfortable. That's because people can contribute the knowledge and the technology to this country.
Right. And I think when you're in the countryside and you don't have much contact, it can be confusing. You only watch the TV, right?
But question is, what happened on that lady? You can guess. Why she supported Trump such a fanatic way? Because in New York City, I witnessed so many so-called darker color people, can I say, or like Asians, they are supporting Trump. I was surprised. And what kind of trend it is?
It's a great question. I don't really understand it. I mean, I had a girlfriend when I was in high school, and her family was Korean. Her father was born in Korea, and he was a real Republican. He was tough. I really liked him a lot. He's a lovely, lovely man, a pathologist, a doctor. And he was famous because there's actually a statue of him in front of the main train station in Seoul, because he trained at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School and then went back to Korea. And he was an advisor to one of the American Army units. They were from North Korea at the time, the family. So he said to the general, there are maybe 120,000 villagers trapped by the North Koreans. He said to the general, this is the story, and there's a statue, so I believe it, that they bombed the North Korean troops, and about 100,000 of these Koreans ended up in the South. And they then were free of this tyranny from North Korea, thank goodness, right? I think. So he was a right-wing guy. So his daughter and I, she and I were McGovern supporters, George McGovern. And he got so angry at the two of us because he felt the Republicans would support so maybe there's a delusion that someone like Trump, if heaven forbid Taiwan is threatened by China, that Trump would step in. It's the opposite. He will do nothing. He will do
He cannot.
He would do nothing. And Biden would do something. Absolutely would do something. But Trump would say, it doesn't concern us. Not my problem.